Namaskar and welcome to Study IQ. I am your friend Rahul Saigaon. The agenda for today's discussion is to understand the Law Commission observation on age of consent. Recently, the 22nd Law Commission report has opted not to reduce the age of consent. You can see here, Law Commission against lowering age of consent under the POCSO Act, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. In this video lecture, we'll understand the news comprehensively. We'll talk about the Law Commission, what is the meaning of age of consent, what is the importance of age of consent, and why there was a discussion about lowering of this age of consent. And now the Law Commission has opted against lowering age of consent, but they have also given certain other recommendations which we will be discussing. At the end of the lecture, we will also talk about what is the international experience. So all this information will be provided in this video. To get to know that, stay with me till the very end. All right, let's begin. But before that, there is a big news for all the UPSC civil services aspirants. Study IQ's P2I program, its prices have lowered. The P2I program, its prices are now starting at 23,999 only. Now this would be the price for the silver subscription. Now if you're preparing for any year, just go to our website studyiq.com. You have multiple options to choose from, multiple languages in terms of teaching and in terms of delivery of content, and different options available for validity as well. Just go to studyiq.com, check whatever is suitable for you, enroll for it. I'll see you in the class and we'll start our journey for UPSC civil service preparation. All right, let's begin our discussion for today's topic. As I told you recently, the 22nd Law Commission of India, which is led by the former Karnataka High Court Chief Justice, that is Rituraj Avasthi, the commission has advised against lowering the age of consent. As of now, the age of consent in India is 18 years. Now, this was highlighted in the 283rd report, which was submitted at the end of September 2023 by the Law Commission to the Government of India. The title itself, you can see here, Age of Consent under the POCSO Act, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act 2012. Now, before we jump into the report and before we understand age of consent, let's first talk about Law Commission of India. Now, the Government of India appoints Law Commission time and again to look into the legal matters and give recommendations regarding the legal aspects. The Law Commission has given detailed recommendations about different aspects right now, like the age of consent, the electoral reforms. Many other reports have come. In fact, this was the 283rd report. Before this, 280 odd reports have come. All right. Now, the Law Commission is appointed by the government under the aegis of Ministry of Law and Justice. The 22nd Law Commission was appointed in February 2020. Its tenure was 3 years. However, in 2023, its tenure was extended by another 1 year. That means till 2024, February, the 22nd Law Commission would be dealing. The Law Commission consists of a chairperson and 3 permanent members. A chairperson is generally a judge. Here it is Rituraj Avasthi. Apart from that, 3 full-time members. These are the 3 full-time members, Justice K.T. Sankaran, Dr. Anand Paliwal, and Professor D.P. Verma. 3 permanent members. Apart from that, there is a member secretary as well, and there are some ex officio members from the Ministry of Law and Justice. Apart from that, there are some part-time members also appointed. As I told you, the Law Commission looks into different legal aspects connected with India and its administration. And recently, they gave recommendation regarding age of consent. Now, first question, what is the meaning of age of consent? It's a legal concept. Now, age of consent is that age at which a person is considered to be legally competent to consent to sexual activities or sexual acts. Simply put, age of consent is that age which is considered legal where a person can give consent for sex. And if any person indulges in sexual acts with a minor, that means one person below the age of consent, then it becomes a criminal activity. Please remember, if any adult engages in any type of sexual activity with someone below the age of consent in that particular state, then they are committing a crime. Now, this is irrespective of what the minor has said, what the person below the age of consent has said. They might have said yes, it might be a clear-cut enunciated approval or a tacit approval, then it would become a crime itself. And that crime would be statutory rape. So statutory rape is a crime where one or both people who are below the age of consent, they engage in sexual activity. All right. Now, you need to understand that the age of consent in India as of now is 18 years. But it was not 18 right from beginning. Age of consent has slowly and steadily been increased in our country. We do know that for the first time, the penal provisions were codified in 1860. The IPC came in 1860. And in IPC sections, the age of consent initially was 10 years. And this was, at that time, if I'm not wrong, even the age of marriage also for girls. But slowly and steadily, I think reason took over, reforms came up, and this age of consent slowly and steadily increased. Different sections of IPC were amended. In 1891, it was increased to 12 years. Later on, in 1925, the age of consent as well as the age of marriage for females was increased to 14 years. And during the pre-independence era itself, in 1940, the age of consent was increased to 16 years. Now, post-independence, another reform came up where in 1978, I have mentioned here the year is same. That means the age of consent is same. And till here, I would say the age of consent and the age of marriage was same, more or less same. But in 1978, there came a difference. In 1978, the age of consent was 16, but the age of marriage was increased to 18 years for females and 21 years for males, and it stands even today. And in 2012, with the coming of the POCSO Act, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act, the age of consent was also increased to 18 years. That means as of now, the age of consent is 18 years in India, and the age of marriage for females is 18, for males it's 21 minimum. You know that, right? Right. So this is how the age of consent has transformed or has evolved in our country. Now, question comes up, sir, what are the legal frameworks, legal protections that are available towards this? If anybody violates that age of consent, then what are the legal frameworks available? We have the POCSO Act, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. Yes, it protects them from rape, because again, these provisions, when clubbed with IPC section 375, you do understand rape, statutory rape, all those things are defined. Apart from that, not just rape, with respect to say sexual assault, child pornography, etc., all those are handled through the POCSO Act itself. Apart from this, another legal framework would be the JJ Act, JJ Act 2015, the Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children Act 2015. Now, these two should be seen in unison, or these two should be understood understood as a legal framework towards protection of children. Now, I told you the age of consent in India is 18 years. Now, there are certain changes which have occurred with the JJ Act as well, especially after the Nirbhaya incident. After the gruesome Nirbhaya rape case, we have seen the Juvenile Justice Act was amended in 2015, where a person in the age of 16 to 18 years, if they are indulged in heinous crimes, then they can be tried as adults. You do know that, right? They can be tried as adults. So if we look at this particular case, now let's try to understand. I told you what is the meaning of a statutory rape. So imagine the age of consent is 18 years and there is 18 years female, yes, and if 18 years female indulges in sexual activity, say 18 or below 18, I would say, let's take two cases where the male is also 16 years and the female is also 16 years, right? And in another case, say a female is 16 years and a male is say 20 years, correct? Now let's take these two cases, and you do know, now this would amount to statutory rape itself, right? This is also statutory rape, this is also statutory rape. All right. Now, after the JJ Act amendment, here this can even be tried as adult because of the amendment. Now, this is adult itself, and he would be tried as adult only. And you do know that during the adolescent age, during say I would say 14 to 18 years of age, right? During the adolescence, the adolescent age is a tumultuous age where I would say the kids they try to explore their body, their sexuality, etc. Now, if during that time, if two people who are below the age of consent, if they are indulging in sexual activity as well, then also punishment can be accorded. That's what I want to explain here. I hope things are clear to you. Now, the question comes up, sir, why are we talking about this age of consent at all? Why are we talking about this at all? Because there had been recommendations and there was demand to lower the age of consent, because there have been so many cases where people who are indulged in sexual acts, say between age of 16 to 18, and many young kids, many young boys, they have been charged under the POCSO Act, even for a consensual sexual activity. And looking at that, there have been many recommendations. For instance, the Justice Verma Committee, which was appointed in 2012, they had already recommended to lower the age of consent to 16 years. They had recommended this. Apart from that, they had also recommended some other changes with the IPC section 375, which deals with rape. But this has not been done. And in recent times, there have been many high courts. This is an instance of recent time only, that MP High Court, it requested the center to reduce the woman's age of consent to 16 years. Why? Because the high courts have been observing that in many of the romantic relationships where a girl is between the age of 16 to 18 and say adult male, or even an adolescent boy between 16 to 18, there have been so many cases like that. And several high courts have been looking at these cases where a minor boy below 18 years, they established consensual sexual relationship with a minor girl, and now they are liable to arrest and prosecution under the POCSO, and you do understand, under the JJ Act as well. And under the JJ Act, you do know that 16 to 18 can be tried as an adult for heinous crimes. So such cases, such incidences have come to fore in different judicial cases, and different high courts have highlighted to lower this age of consent by 2 years. But now, after assessing all the things, Law Commission says, no, we are against the lowering of age of consent. Age of consent still stands at 18 itself. Now, you need to understand why Law Commission did this. Why Law Commission says age of consent would not be lowered? Because if the age of consent is lowered, according to Law Commission, it might lead to, or it might facilitate coercive practices like child marriages, marital rapes, various forms of abuse, including human trafficking, child trafficking, etc. Yeah, the report does acknowledge that adolescent love is something which is uncontrollable, and there can be consensual acts involving adolescents, and they do not have any sort of criminal intent, right? They do lack criminal intent. It's a consensual act between two minors, and in such a case, they can be charged under POCSO. Many times this has happened that the girl's family would drag the boy under POCSO, and despite good intention of this POCSO, there have been many cases where minor boys or young individuals who are indulged in consensual acts, they are charged. Again, under the POCSO also, in many cases, not severe punishments have been given, but nonetheless, it leads to rejection of bail, detention of young children in jails that might have an impact on their future. Now, to rectify this particular situation without lowering the age of consent, the Law Commission has suggested certain ideas. Now, one of the ideas is to amend the POCSO Act itself. Apart from that, also an amendment in the JJ Act, the Juvenile Justice Act. What they say is amend Section 4 of the POCSO Act, where there would be some sort of guided judicial intervention. Means cases which specially deal with intimate relationship between two minors, and where there is a tacit approval. And you do understand this is not an explicit approval, but a tacit approval, where exactly after committing of sexual act there might be some sort of a feeling, some sort of a guilty feeling, etc. That's basically the tacit approval. And in such a case, if the accused is a child, then guided judicial intervention should be there to give a lesser sentence or some other kind of punishment. All right. Again, they also suggest that Juvenile Justice Act should be amended, and Section 18 of the JJ Act should be amended, wherein whenever there is a consensual romantic relationship case, they should not be tried under heinous offenses. Instead, they should be tried under juvenile justice care, normal juvenile justice care, and the Juvenile Justice Board should deal with such cases for any sort of redressal. Now, as of now, as I told you, there are many incidences where it happens. If there is a consensual activity, then the girl's family, if they're influential, they would put a case on the guy. Again, charging under the POXO Act, then under the Juvenile Justice Act, charging under the heinous crime, they would be tried as adults. So the entire future of the child would be destroyed. To avoid such incidences, the Law Commission has suggested, they have acknowledged that adolescent love is something which is uncontrollable, yes, but some safeguards, some measures can be brought through different amendments in POXO Act. Let's hope that these changes come up, and again, if there is any development over this, we'll just have a discussion on that on Study IQ as well. But let me end the discussion by telling you what is the age of consent in different countries. What has been the international experience? Now, in India, I told you, even now it is 18 years age of consent. But there are many countries. Angola is one of the countries where the age of consent is 12 years. Japan, Burkina Faso, Niger, they have age of consent as 13 years. There are many countries where the age of consent is 14. Now, in United States of America, different states have different age of consent. Again, they vary somewhere between 16 to 18. UK has 16 as age of consent. France has 15. There are some countries which have age of consent even higher than that. South Korea, Bahrain, etc. They have 20 plus. So in general, again, you do understand many countries, they also follow something called as Romeo Juliet laws, right? Romeo Juliet laws, because say in France, the idea of this Romeo Juliet law is such that the age of consent is 15. Age of consent is 15, and the Romeo Juliet law allow plus 5 years of leeway. That means a sexual act between a female of 15 years and a male of 20 years, it would not come under that statutory rape idea. So such Romeo Juliet laws have also been brought in different countries where there is some leeway for adult in terms of the age difference. Some countries have an age difference which is allowed for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Such laws are called as Romeo Juliet laws in the international legal terminology. All right, that's the international experience. More or less, I'd say that India is on par with many of the other countries where age of consent is somewhere between 16 to 18. We still stand at 18 years. If there is any change in this, we'll have a discussion again on Study IQ. But I hope things are clear to you. What is the meaning of age of consent? What is Law Commission of India? Why there was demand for lowering of age of consent? Because there have been so many cases. The Justice Verma committee has observed, many high courts have observed, but we are staying put on 18 as age of consent. Okay, thank you for watching this video. Jai Hind.